Everyone tells you it is possible to become a pilot in the US for international students, but no one tells you how. The process is confusing, expensive, and feels impossible to navigate, especially when you're doing it from halfway across the world. And if no one's ever told you how to do it step by step, let me be the first one who finally does. I was in your exact shoes, confused and didn't know where to start. And I figured it out the hard way. But you don't have to do it alone. We're gonna go through this together. The traps, the obstacles, the path, and most importantly, the truth. Yes, you can become a commercial airline pilot in the US as a non-US citizen. You don't need a green card, you don't need to be rich. You just need two things, a visa and a plan. There are a couple types of visas that you can get to do flight training in the US, F1 visa and M1 visa. The difference between these two visas can make all the difference depending on what you need. We'll get to that in a little bit, because getting the visa is only the first hoop. The real question is the money. How much does it cost? Let's be real for a second. Flight school is not cheap. Nothing in aviation is cheap. The quickest answer for the question of how much does it actually cost, you're looking at anywhere between $60,000 to $100,000 or maybe more, just for your training. I'll quickly break it down for the purpose of this video just to get an overall understanding of how much money it actually costs. Starting off with the private pilot certificate, this is the first certificate you will ever get as a pilot in the US. This will cost you anywhere between $15,000 to $25,000. The next certificate and ratings you will be getting is the instrument rating and then the commercial pilot certificate. Both these together could cost you between $35,000 to $50,000. After that, you're looking at your multi-engine rating, which could cost you upwards of $10,000. Depending on what you want to do from here, you could be getting your CFI certificates, your CFII, MEI, and other instructor certificates to help you build hours to get to the airlines. These we're looking at, again, $10,000 to $25,000. On top of all of this, we're looking at living expenses, rent, food, housing, all that good stuff, and other hidden costs like TSA fees, check ride fees, and so much more, which can cost you anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000. A lot of students encounter this problem of running out of money, under budgeting, and spending way too much because a lot of flight schools give you the lower end of the numbers. And usually, more often than not, most students do not finish their training at the bare minimum hours that is required. If you want to find out more details about the costs, how to not fall into this trap, how to save extra money, we're talking thousands of dollars, watch the webinar linked down below. That'll give you more in detail stuff about the costs, hidden costs, how to save money, and how to properly budget so you don't end up overspending and running out of money in the middle of your training with nowhere to go. This webinar covers a step-by-step guide for international students who want to go from 0 hours to becoming an airline pilot. It also has a lot of free bonuses included. If you want to find out more and you're an international student, check out the link in the description to learn more about the webinar. So, training costs, we're talking over $100,000. But don't panic yet. We'll talk about ways of how to make this work, even if you're not rich. Because the right choice in the right flight school can save you tens of thousands of dollars. So, how do you choose the right flight school? Not all flight schools are created equal. Some will gladly take your money and leave you stuck. There are a lot of flight school traps that you don't want to fall for. You need to make sure that they are the right fit for you and they're not scamming you. Flight schools have lots of red flags. I personally fell victim for one of these and lost thousands of dollars. Make sure you're looking for red flags in flight schools before you commit, especially with such a huge sum of money. We'll talk more about that in the webinar, but one of the first things you need to look for in a flight school is making sure that they can offer you a visa. Not all flight schools can do that. They need extra certification and need to be able to give you a visa. Next, make sure the flight school is 141 certified. This usually breaks down a lot of the confusion and trouble for international students. This may not be required, but it will just make your life easier so you don't have to go verify a lot more things in the process. Another thing you want to look for in a flight school is what kind of international student support they offer, because you're in a whole other country. You could use some help. If you're somebody who's feeling a little overwhelmed with the whole flight school, searching, finding, seeing if they're the right fit, if they have the right visa, check out the flight school form in the description below where we match you with the right flight schools that do offer international student support and visas for international students. This form is completely free. All you have to do is fill it out if you're interested in finding the right flight school, and we'll match you with the right one. And if you're thinking about staying in the US after you finish your training to build some flight hours and get hired, the type of visa you choose changes everything. How can you stay in the US after you finish training? Your plan with your training can go two ways. You either finish your training, get your commercial pilot certificate, multi-engine rating, and any other ratings that you wish to get, and go back to your home country and fly for an airline at your home country. This is the easier route. Or your plan might include continue staying in the US and working for an airline in the US eventually. This is much harder, but not impossible. The difference between these two can come down to what kind of visa you choose. With an M1 visa, you typically have to leave the US after you finish training. This visa is specifically designed to come here for training. Once you finish it, go back to your home country and then work there. On the other hand, if you opt for an F1 visa, this gives you the opportunity to apply for optional practical training, or OPT in short. That essentially lets you legally work in the US, maybe as a CFI, maybe something else, but in your field of study to build hours and to build experience. But there's a catch. That is only valid for 1 year. This topic is extremely detailed and is set with traps at every turn. I won't be able to fully cover that in this video, but the webinar goes into full deep dive about the topic. But in summary, what I need you to know about these two visas is M1 visa is for training purposes. You come here, train, and go back to your home country. F1 visa is for training and also lets you build experience or work for a limited period of time. The disadvantage of F1 visa is that it is a lot more expensive than M1 visa. So this is a more expensive option, but it also gives you the opportunity to work for a little while in the US. Some flight schools will hire you as a flight instructor after you graduate to build hours and work towards your 1,500 hour minimum to get hired into the airlines. You could do this as a flight instructor or any other job that you wish to build flight time to get into the airline. But for international students, even after you build those 1,500 hours, the biggest wall still remains. You need to get hired by airlines. Can you work for a US airline as a non-citizen? I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Here's the hard truth. Most US major airlines and regional airlines require you to be a US citizen or hold a green card to be employed with them. There's a lot of travel in and out of the country and a lot of other factors are involved, and that's the bottom line. They prefer a US citizenship or a green card. But that doesn't mean your dreams die here. Trust me, the world needs pilots, especially when you have FAA training and have been trained in the US. You look really good. There are a handful of airlines in the US that might let you work for them, but the path is harder. The easiest path would be to go back to your home country and work there, or to go to a different country where your FAA certificate looked really nice. This was one of the hardest things for me too, but I did it. I work for a US airline as a non-citizen. Even though it seems impossible, it's not. You can make it happen. When it comes to working for a US airline, you have to approach this strategically. Timeline matters. Where you go to study matters. All of these can make or break you working for a US airline. OPTs are time restricted, so you have to time everything right to make it happen. We'll get into that strategy and some free bonus resources in the webinar. I was once the student who was watching videos like this and hoping that I could become a pilot. And today I'm sitting in a beautiful flight deck flying a jet. I made it happen because I didn't quit. And as we're approaching the end of this video, I can see that you don't quit either. So let's go ahead and summarize this. There are two different types of visas that you can get as an international student going to train in the US to become a pilot. The M1 visa and the F1 visa. M1 visa is used for vocational training. So you train and go back home. F1 visa, on the other hand, can be used to train and also gives you the opportunity to build some experience after, which means you can work as a CFI for a short period of time. And to make that happen, you will have to pick the right school, the right training, and the right degree if that's what you're going for. The biggest disadvantage of the F1 visa is it costs a lot more. Talking of costs, flight training can cost you $60,000 to $100,000, sometimes more. Next, choosing the right flight school is extremely important. Make sure you're looking for the green flags that we mentioned. Make sure that they can actually train international students. If you want to be connected with such flight schools, fill out the flight school form in the description. It is completely free. After you finish training, you have two options. You can either go back to your home country or a different country, convert your certificates, and work at an airline in that country. On the other hand, there is another path, which is staying in the US and building flight hours. After you build 1,500 hours, you can apply for airlines in the US. Most major US airlines do not hire international students who don't have a US citizenship or a green card. There are some airlines that do hire international students, but it is extremely important to time your OPT right. We'll talk more about the timeline and the strategy in the webinar if you're interested. But it is extremely important to time your OPT right. I cannot stress this enough. And that is how you become a pilot in the US. And honestly, everything I've told you in this video is just the tip of the iceberg. This is a summarized, very condensed version of all the things you need to know to become a pilot in the US. If you want to know more information, a full deep dive breakdown of step-by-step roadmap of how to go from 0 hours to becoming an airline pilot in the US, check out the webinar in the description. This will be the most comprehensive and useful guide for international students. The link to the webinar is in the description and the pinned comment. Check it out if you are serious about becoming a pilot. Thank you for staying till the very end. I will see you in my next video. Until then, signing off, Lightning Girl. Bye!